se parece. Cada cual tiene lo que merece. A mami dile que por mí no rece. Que yo salgo esta noche viro pa' la calle y nadie va a hacer que yo me enderece. Salí jodido la última vez que...
I'm gonna press this one. Hey, go ahead.
Fragrance. Hey, what's up, guys? Obviously going to be whipping out the hand cameras more. Make sure if you want to support me making more, highly recommend you play Claw. A few retakes of FIFO cone variations. But first I'm going to go over what the FIFO cone actually is and how I do mine. So a FIFO cone is basically when you're double ramping up and you place 4 walls and a cone to block your opponent, and then you continue to ramp up. Now this is not so effective anymore as it's really predictable. Everyone pretty much does them nowadays. But the variations that Beats shows in these videos are variations of the FIFO cone. So I'm just going to show you how to consistently perform FIFO cones and how I do it. So these are what my FIFO cones look like at speed, and then I'm going to break them down for you. Alright, so what I do is I place a wall at the front here, and then I scoop down, place a wall here, place a wall here, a wall behind me, a wall to the side, and then I place a cone right here. Now something you might encounter a lot is actually placing the cone on top of you like this. The reason that's happening is because you're looking at the bottom half of the wall. So if I just pull out a cone, if I hold it on this wall, as you can see, as soon as I go below halfway on the wall, it's going to place at the bottom. No matter where I am on this ramp, if I'm looking at the bottom half of that wall, the cone's going to place on me. Whereas as soon as I look at the top half, it's going to... and then eventually pick up the speed until it's just a flick. And then all you got to do is sprint and then add in a jump to keep momentum, and it should look like this. So the first FIFO cone variation is placing the walls and you can try and get high. I don't see a lot of people do. So yeah, hopefully y'all like that one, and let's just get straight to the next one. Alright guys, so for this one, alright, so let's just say you start your build fight, right? Like that, and you're at this point, you want to place a cone, another cone, and as soon as you wrap around, don't place a floor and a stair like most people would do with this. Edit this part of the cone right here, and you want to hop off like that. Oh, you want to actually get a wall there though. And see, off of that, you can either edit that and then edit through that and then go through and, you know, you can... Let's do a rifle cone there, or, instead of doing that, and as soon as you edit this, you can put a cone up here, and you know, just go off like that, if you want. So yeah, it's a pretty nice little move. Let me show y'all again. So let's just say you started your build fight, right? You 90'd up, and this is like where you're looking. You can place a cone right in front of you, then you want to quickly turn around, do that, edit that like that, and do that in one quick motion. You 90'd up, and this is like where you're looking. You want to place a cone right in front of you, then you want to quickly turn around, do that.
Why? More effective than just your average 90s, alright? Alright, so this is what it looks like when I'm doing it normal. Alright, now we're gonna watch the clip in slow motion one time.
Do you want to build like a pro in Fortnite? And when people wait to keep ramping up, you can just actually double ramp. So you double ramp up, place a floor above you and below you. You place a pyramid and a floor. Alright? So you want to place a pyramid and a floor. You edit these two. So you edit straight up and down, just like that. Alright? So you place a stair above you, a floor, stair, while you're jumping onto it, so it should be a nice fluid motion. You edit, or it could just be one. It depends on what you prefer. I just edit these two squares. Look up, place a pyramid right over each one individually and show you how they're actually performed. So without further ado, let's get right into it. I don't want to waste any time because this is going to take a while, with there being 6 or 7 times over, and linking them with your site. With that said, the first 90 I want to go over is the no 90. So how is this one performed? Basically, there's 2 things you want to watch out for. What you don't want to do is go over this path, which is basically just making a diagonal right here, like a 90 degree, not a 90 degree turn, to take it straight up 90 degree turn. What you do not want to do is no jump 90. That means that in the usual, you were going to pick some shots that cause function pushing me up, just like it did right here. They'll be less effective, basically. So basically, it'll look something like this. If you get to the end of 3 of them and you can't do any more, then you're doing it right. Things to watch out for. Don't hit that wall. Cut off a corner of your ramp whenever you're jumping and putting all of your pieces down. Alright, so we did no jump 90s, we did traditional 90s. Now I want to go over the zigzag 90s. So the zigzag 90 is essentially this motion right here. You go here, 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 just like that. Now you could do it in different variations, but that's the way that I've always done it. Now I used to really like this one, and I still do, just because it just works really well. Like you're put in that situation, but that's the way that I've always done it. Now I used to really like this one, and I still do, just because it just works really well. Like you're put in that situation where you're always like on top of your ramp, and that's really, really nice. But the issue is consistency, and I'll get into that later. But the way you perform it, like I just said, you do like a zigzag, and you jump just like every other 90. You cut off this triangle right here on your ramp, and in doing so, it's going to allow you to do that. So make sure the other thing to watch out for is when you go up for this wall and you come over, this is when you need to look down and place that flat. If you do not look down, what's going to happen is you're going to do this, 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 and that. Bam, and you're stuck underneath this thing. Your teammate, or your opponent gets high ground and you're done. You're clapped. Your cheeks are gone. So you do not want to get in that situation. So that's how you do this one. And that's literally the only thing I can think of for this one that you need to watch out for. It just always take practice, but that's the simple mechanical thing to look out for. Alright, so the next 90 is the looking down 90. By the way, I don't know the names, like the proper names for this, but I'm just gonna so it's easy to, remember. So the looking down 90 is essentially you are looking down the whole time, and then you do something like this. It's really the most consistent if you can actually get it down. Like, I really, really like this one. You are not going to mess it up too often if you know what you're doing and you get the rhythm. But as soon as you lose the rhythm, you can mess it up pretty easy. The only thing you gotta look out for is you place this wall, and then, like I said, just like every other 90, you cut off this triangle, and at the same time, you jump, place the flat, place the ramp, and you land on your ramp. The highest part that you can, on all these 90s, the highest point that you can land on this ramp is the best. Like, if you're landing down here, that's not good at all. You are not doing the 90 correctly. You need to be landing up here at least. You can, unlike the other ones, you can do the 90-degree turn, like actually going up here.
So I personally like to cut it off. You can't get away with doing like that. I mean, even I just naturally cut off that triangle, but you can technically get away with just doing the 90-degree turn. Now the next variation of that 90, of the looking down 90, is to do that. You might be stuck. Well, I don't like doing that. The difficult part with this is not running off your ramp, because if you run off your ramp, you're kind of screwed. Just like that, and that will happen a lot if you do not time that 90-degree turn perfectly, and that's why I'm not the biggest fan of this one, but yeah, it is doable, it is viable. Alright guys, so the other variation of the looking down 90 is one in which you add a wall right here. You see a lot of pros choose this one because it adds a little bit more cover at the expense of...
Watching games won't make you better. Playing them on a Galaxy Note 10 might. Its super speed processor means you're always one step ahead. Your friends will say it's unfair. They're weak.
I'm fascinated by last words. My favorite last...
One more wall. And essentially the way that you do this one, you can do either way. You can do a 90-degree turn, like this, or you can do the cut off, the triangle method, just like so. And as you can see, they both work out just fine, and they're just a side variation again of the looking down 90. Not too difficult to get down, but the timing is a little different from all the other 90s, so keep that in mind. Alright, so the last one, guys, is the Mongrel style 90, and I call it Mongrel because that's where I saw it from first. So what you want to do is put this wall here, this wall here, this wall here, and then like this, and you jump up. So just like all the other 90s, or most of them, you cut off the corner, cut off the little triangle, and from first. So what you want to do is put this wall here, this wall here, this wall here, and then like this, and you jump up. So just like all of the other 90s, or most of them, you cut off the corner, cut off the little triangle, and you put a wall here, you put a wall here. The only difference is that you're starting to place these walls sooner than every other 90. Like usually I'd be like right here, and then I'd start placing walls. This one, I'm more like right here, and I'm already placing the walls. I'm going up. And the reason you do that is to allow yourself enough time to place this wall, and then you jump through it just like that, like every other 90. And this one is just really difficult on console, really more complicated than it needs to be. And you'll notice that you will miss this wall a lot if you're not doing it perfectly. And that's why I'm, again, not the biggest fan of this one, at least for console, but I'll get into that in a second. But anyway, that's the only thing to watch out for, is make sure you're starting these walls sooner than the other 90s, and you're still staying on that corner and jumping, trying to land as high as you possibly can on the ramp. Alright guys, so this is the second part of the video. I went over 6 different 90 variations, and in this part I want to go over how these things hook up with your binds, your settings, the platform that you're playing on, the situations you're in, you're getting into, pros and cons, all that good stuff. And so you'll know exactly what 90 you should be doing, or that will probably be most effective for your play style. So with that said, here we go. So real quick, as a disclaimer, I'm not going over any mobile stuff because I am not familiar with the mobile settings or any play style with mobile at all. So I'm sorry, mobile players, for you guys. But anyway, so console and PC. We have two different play bases and players that I want to split up. So two different categories here. The first category is you cannot jump and look around at the same time, or you can jump and look around at the same time. So if you can't jump and look around, that means you're on console, and that means that your binds are not properly set up. So that's probably the situation that you're in, is that you're on console and you haven't changed your binds, you don't have paddles, and you don't play claw. The other category is you can jump. So these are console players that have fixed their binds where they can jump and look around at the same time, and also PC players. PC players have so many keys, they're always going to be able to jump and look around at the same time. So first, let's go over the cannot jump and look around at the same time players. You guys have 3 viable options in my opinion. That is the no jump 90, the traditional 90, and the looking down 90. Let's first go over how many mats you're using with each of these. The no jump 90 and the traditional 90 use the same amount of mats. That is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All of these are 7 mats. No matter which variation you do it, you will be using 7. You could use 6 if you missed that wall down there, this one, and so keep that in mind. So we'll say 6 to 7 with that one. Now the looking down 90 is going to actually only use 4. You'll put a wall here, put a wall here, and here. Now you could also do it, with only 2, and that's insane as well. So this is what we need to take away, right? If you need to save mats, you're in a situation where you have very little mats, then the no jump 90 is going to be coming in clutch, and you'll probably want to use that for your next upcoming fight. Now with that said, realize that you don't have any cover from up here, right? Which is going to be something that you do get from the traditional 90, so at the expense of more mats. So make sure you're keeping this stuff in mind when you're deciding which ones to do. One other thing I want to mention is that I made a 90 tutorial in the past. It was about in March. And in that tutorial, I said that you cannot jump and look around at the same time, or if you cannot jump and look around at the same time, then you will not be able to do a 90. I was wrong about that. Even if you cannot jump and look around at the same time, you can still do a traditional 90 with jumping. It's achievable, and players can do it consistently. So if you're up for the challenge, then do that. So now we have the fun group, in my opinion. You have the console players that have binds corrected to allow them to jump and look around at the same time, as well as they probably have paddles, they probably have the claw grip. You have that group, as well as you have the PC group. So PC, let's just get this one out of the way. Y'all can do whatever the heck you want to do, because you can look around, you can jump, you can do everything with perfect accuracy if you spend the time to do so, and you will have the most consistent anything that you try, because you have your whole arm to be able to allow you to do that. Like I said, PC, you can do whatever you want. Console blinds, these are your options. Traditional 90s, zigzag 90s, looking down 90s, and mongrel 90s. I think that all of these are viable for console. However, the most viable is probably going to be the zigzag or traditional or looking down. The mongrel is, like I said, you can do it on console, but it's very hard to get consistent and not very viable in a pressure situation. So in my opinion, I would avoid that. Quick. A lot of material to go over, so I hope that wasn't informative and helpful to you guys. Also, my Twitter is @triple_YT. I'd greatly appreciate a follow. It really helps me out. And also leave a like on the video if you did enjoy. Do not forget, please. It also helps out the channel. And once again, guys, is that a lot of good players or well-known players such as Nick Merckx, have recently revealed that they've been using the edit mode aim assist function. Now, if you don't know the history behind this setting, basically it was in season 1 from the beginning, season 1, 2, 3, and I believe 4 is when we got the ability to turn it off. But until season 4, I believe it was season 4, don't quote me on that, but it was around that time, you were only able to have it on, and you could not turn it off, and this was very restricting to players because you could not do anything besides have one sensitivity, right? So here's where the main discrepancy comes in play. This is why the setting was so bad at the beginning, but now it's actually viable. So back then, you only had controller sensitivity, right? There was no controller build sensitivity, there was no controller edit mode sensitivity. So we only had controller sensitivity X and Y. And at the time, it was actually to 10, so it was 1 to 10 instead of 0 to 1. But yeah, at the time, you had this. If we had 0.75, just like so, then our building would be 0.75 as well as our editing would also be 0.75, right? There would be no change in sensitivity. And so what this meant is that it was a lot slower editing back then compared to now. And specifically, almost twice as less than what most players are using now is what they would have been editing back then. So just to mimic this and show you how bad this actually is, I will turn this down to 1, my multiplier, for controller edit mode sensitivity. And so with this now at 1, we're basically saying that our controller edit mode sensitivity is 1 times 0.75, so that is still 0.75. There is no change between that and our controller sensitivity. So we also now have the edit mode aim assist on at this time. So the first thing that you can do to kind of test this out and play with it is just put a pyramid right here like this and then edit these two, right? This is really difficult for me, because like I'm going about halfway with my thumbstick right now. You can't see it, but I'm going about halfway pressing, moving the actual thumbstick itself, and I'm still not getting to the next square. Like that's how strong the binds are to these squares, right? So controller edit mode sensitivity, what it does is it pushes your reticle to the middle of whatever square you're trying to edit. And so you would think that this is good, but it's not on a low sense, because it just requires so much force to get over to the next square. It's ridiculous. And then that's a hard edit to see. You'll see it a lot more on like the ramps. Like it's just not consistent at all, and it should be editing when it's just not, right? And same with this. You get stuck on like the door edit all the time, and it's just really bad, especially when you first get in. Your sensitivity is just so slow that it's automatically grabbing to like the middle square or whatever square your reticle is next to whenever you press the edit button. So it's just a mess. It's really just not good, and you can feel how clunky the sensitivity actually feels. And again, every player, when the option to turn this off came out, everybody turned it off. Everyone that knew what they were doing turned it off because it was not worth it at all. They wanted a faster sensitivity whenever they edited, and so they turned it off, and that basically gave them just that, right? There's no more magnetism trying to like grab them to like a certain square. Like they have much more free range to do what they want to do. So now I'm going to turn this off to mimic just that. So now, as you can see, a lot less restricting, right? I'm already hitting way faster edits, and it's not even close, right? Like it's just way more consistent, and it's just a great feeling. Like this was honestly at the time revolutionary, right? So now fast forward a little bit more, and I don't know exactly when we got this setting, but now we got controller edit mode sensitivity. This is now an option, and so what people did naturally was boost this sucker all the way up to like 2.0. Realistically, most people sit at about 1.7, 1.8. I think Nick Merckx is on 1.8 and Innocence is on 1.7, something like that. Don't quote me on that, I'm just kind of throwing numbers out there. I'm pretty sure that's right, but it could be wrong. But yeah, so the key here is that people use a faster edit mode sensitivity, right? And so now, this is great. Like if you can control this, this is still fine. Like there's nothing wrong with this. And I can still edit pretty well on this setting, right? Like it's not horrible at all. I do like it, and I've liked it all this time. However, with Nick Merckx and Innocence, going back to the old edit mode setting, edit mode aim assist setting, it's got my curiosity up. Like why does it feel so good? And this is why, right? So now that we have a faster edit mode sensitivity that comes from the edit mode aim assist option. So we turn this on, right? And because our controller edit mode sensitivity is fast enough, this is the key, it has to be fast enough to fight the magnetism. If it's not, then it's not going to feel right. It's going to feel really, really slow and clunky. So what this does now is allow me to not overshoot if you find the perfect sensitivity, right? And I really, really like the way that this feels. It feels super, right? And right? So now time, however, with Nick Merckx and Innocence, going back to the old edit mode setting, edit mode aim assist setting, it's got my curiosity up. Like why does it feel so good? And this is why, right? So now that we have a slow and feels, Xbox One thumb is worth checking out. How well you can edit on both modes. So what I would do is first, this is really good for like deciding what edit mode sensitivity to use, as well as if you should use the option of edit mode aim assist in general. So first I would choose if you want the option on or off. And so with these three simple, very simple, there's nothing new, don't get me wrong. They're just very simple routines that I do to kind of see if my sensitivity feels good and whatnot, if my settings feel good in general. So once again, we will have the option edit mode aim assist on, and we will have our edit mode sensitivity to 1.7. And so again, what I would do is I would do all of these with both edit mode aim assist on and off, and see which one feels better for you. So first we're just going to do the simple edit tower. Let's see how this goes. Now, I'm not the best player, but that was pretty consistent for me. So next up, we're going to do the walls, and what we're going to do here is try to flick it. Rather than doing like a slow, and control movement, we're actually going to go for a faster movement like so. And so as you can see, that was super consistent, and I can promise you, compared to my normal edits, that's pretty darn good. Now the last one that's really useful is to kind of mimic what we were doing at the start, in which you build this ramp right, and then you put two cones like so, and then you edit the pyramid like this. Doing this full speed just like so, I'll show you. Do this, and bam. Doing this full speed is the key. See how many times you miss that edit, such as you might accidentally only edit this, or only edit this. See how many times you're missing it compared to like having both edit mode aim assist on and off, and just see which one's more consistent. That's what you should do for all of these. Now obviously, besides these three exercises, I would go ahead and test it in actual game. There's no better practice than getting real in-game experience. That's going to tell you if your sensitivity is good for you or not. I mean, you could do all this stuff and feel good, but go into game and you're absolute garbage. So just make sure you do recognize that you need to go in game and practice this as well. Now, if after doing all of these exercises, you still do not feel like you have a good grasp on if this is going to work for you or not, I would move on to something a little bit more advanced. such as something like this. I'll go ahead and build it briefly. You're basically going to put a wall on the top like this and then connect it with a pyramid. And so what this edit is going to teach you to do is kind of edit a little bit faster. And so that's the whole premise that we're doing here, right? We're just making you edit a little bit faster. And so what I would just do is go through it like this. You could either do two variations, right? You can do the one that I just did where you edit through like so, or you can do the variation where you go to the side and edit both of these. That one's going to be a little bit harder, but as you can see, it's doable. But yeah, that's basically the premise of the first one. After you do that one, I would move on to one in which you have to edit up, such as this one. So you can do this in two ways. You could do the famous, starting this little sway thing, a very sweaty maneuver, or you could do you can even just start in here, right, and edit both these, put the pyramid, go like this, edit up, and just see how this feels for you. I'm not the fastest at this, that's why I'm not going full speed, but it is something that you can try if that is something that you would like to do. And after those two, any other exercises that you can think of that's going to cause you to edit.
What are you guys doing, bro? I fucking love you guys, bro. Holy shit. Fuck.
1.650, and I just bumped it up from 50 to 54. Just a small change. I don't even think it's really noticeable, but I do want to try. I want to try to bump my building sense up a little bit, and yeah, I don't know. I just messed with it a little bit. I don't even know if I meant to do that. I think I did it on accident, but whatever. Edit mode sense, we're at 1.899. I know it's probably triggering you guys that I can't go to 1.9 right on the dot. It literally doesn't let you look. Okay, it was not working before. Well, whatever. 1.9 is my editing sense. It's a lot higher. Before it was 1.760. So yeah, this is a big boost. I feel like one thing that was really messing me up was like when I was really close up to a wall and I try like editing it, I would always mess up. So I feel like it's really helped me just like fix that a little bit. And another thing that's really important. So that's all for the sense stuff. That's good. One thing that's really important that I added. playstyle was auto open doors. So I'm gonna provide you guys a clip of that really quick. What happens is if you mess up your like edit and you accidentally create a door, it'll keep like opening. It'll open the door for you, and it'll like. If you guys have ever seen Sway's like free builds, he has it on, and like he edits doors and he just keeps going. So that's where I saw it from. If you accidentally edit a door, it'll just open and you'll keep running. It's helped me so much in scrims. I 100% recommend you guys turn this on. It does suck if you get close to a door and you're not trying to open it and it opens by itself. That kind of sucks. But yeah, it's definitely super useful. My edit mode aim assist is on. It's actually not on, and I don't know why. There's a lot of people using it right now, but when I use it, it just feels like it pulls like it's not doing what I want. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. I don't like messing with it. Actually, so I was gonna go over the binds. My binds are pretty much the same. I'm actually gonna hop into a creative real quick and explain like what I think is the best binds right now. I don't use them, but just because I don't want to get used to it, I'm really lazy, but I think these are the best binds. So now we are going to get into the binds that I was talking about that I think are the best right now. If you guys know me, I play Claw, so it's good, but there's a lot more benefits to using these binds that I'm going to show you here in a second. If you guys know, I play Claw, so it's basically where I edit with circle. So basically, it's like I press circle, then R2, then circle to edit. So circle, R2, circle. Kind of hard when you're doing a lot of edits. Like it just takes a lot of work from your fingers, a lot of practice. So kind of tough to get, especially if you don't play on it. It's super hard to just get used to, and I don't think it's as consistent. So the binds that I'm talking about, the left stick pushing at N will be your edit. Edit. Now this is really easy too if you shoot with your middle finger. If you don't shoot with your middle finger, I don't know if this would work, but I do, so this is really nice. You keep your select as R2, and then you make your R1 confirm, okay? So you'd have to make your pickaxe. My pickaxe is L3, so I would have to change it to like circle or something, I don't know. So basically with these binds, if you shoot with your middle, if you're good at keeping your middle finger on the right like trigger, basically this is what it's gonna look like. So basically you're clicking L3, R1 to edit. So I can do it pretty quick, like that's what it looks like if I'm like editing max speed. I can't do that with Claw. This is what it looks like with Claw. So I can do it pretty quick, like this is what it's gonna look like. So basically you're clicking L3, R1 to edit. So I can do it pretty quick, like that's what it looks like if I'm like editing max speed. I can't do that with Claw. This is what it looks like with Claw. So, I mean, if you get good with these binds, this is what I want to eventually do. You can see I can edit pretty fast. I'm just not used to it. That's not there, but I'm not fully used to it. I definitely want to get this in my playstyle because this is insane. Yeah, that's something I definitely recommend you guys might want to try out. I'm sure some of you guys already use it. But yeah, that's it for the settings video, guys. Share you my updated settings right now. Give you a little input on the new binds. And yeah, see you guys later.
Yeah, nice one. I freaking hit you for like 25 or some shit.
Up insane. Okay. So you'd have to make your pickaxe. My pickaxe is L3, so I would have to change it to like circle or something. I don't know. So basically, with these binds, if you shoot with your middle, if you're good at keeping your middle finger on the right like trigger, basically this is what it's gonna look like. So basically you're clicking L3, R1 to edit. So I can do it pretty quick, like that's what it looks like if I'm like editing max speed. I can't do that with Claw. This is what it looks like with Claw. So I mean, if you get good with these binds, this is what I want to eventually do. You can see I can edit pretty fast. I'm just not used to it. I'm not fully used to it. I definitely want to get this in my playstyle because this is insane. I'm not used to it. But good with these binds. This is what.
Bought you there.
Yeah. What are you watching? How to get better or what?
I guess not. Or if you're fine. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down.
What are you watching?
Hey, Roddy, you want to play one shot?
Q.
Alright, nice talk.
Emiliano.
Alright.
Emiliano, can you hear me? Q. Emiliano.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?